Hey guys, it's Travis from bpnorthwest.com. We got an email from a guy named Paul wanting to know if it's how easy it is to change out his valve cover gasket. And it's actually really easy. The only thing it is, it's a couple of bolts and a screw, and pull it off, clean it, put the new gasket in, and you're off and rolling. So basically, here's some of the tools that you're going to need. You need a 1/2-inch wrench. You need either a flathead or a Phillips head screwdriver, depending on how this hose is hooked on here. You're going to need a razor blade, and you're going to need a clean shop towel, and then of course you're going to need your new cork gasket. Now, since I'm in here doing this, I wanted to swap out my valve cover for a new one, just a nice chrome one that we sell up here at the shop. So I'm going to put that on as well. The first thing you want to do, grab your 1/2-inch wrench and take these bolts off right here and here, these nuts. Now there are 2 washers under here as well that you want to take off too. Next thing, take your screwdriver, loosen up this hose clamp right here, and then you're going to have to wiggle it back and forth to get it to pop loose. Okay, now that that's off, the next thing I want you to do is you want to grab this with both hands, and I want you to push it back and forth. Don't ever get a flathead screwdriver or something underneath and try and pry, because I'll tell you what, you can gouge the metal in the head, you can ruin the valve cover. So just grab with both hands, it's going to take some pressure, and start rocking it back and forth, and then it's going to pop loose. Now it's off. The next thing you want to do, grab your old valve cover gasket and see if it's going to come off, and mine is. So now the next thing you want to do is take your shop rag, and I want you to clean this head and make sure you're brushing away from inside the motor, because if there's any dirt or grime, you don't want it to fall in the motor, you want it to get brushed out of the motor. Now that that's clean, if you're going to reuse your old valve cover, you want to get in there and you want to clean this out real good, okay? And that's where you take your razor blade and just side to side, start, getting all that grime off of there, and you want this super clean before you try and put the new gasket back on. Now, if you have a nice chromed gasket, like their valve cover, like the one I'm going to put on here, what you want to do here is take your blade, put it on about a 45-degree angle, and then scrape away from you. That's going to take all that debris off of there. And then of course you take your rag when you're done, whichever valve cover you're working on, and wipe it up nice and clean. The next thing we're going to do, now that everything's good and clean, feel around here. Make sure there's no bumps or anything like that, because the slightest little bump or gouge is going to cause this thing to leak. Okay, take your new cork gasket, set it right on top here. You're just going to set it in place. Then what you're going to want to do is, over here you have a real thin rail, over here it's really thick. So like this one, I've got this little bow in it, and I'd rather have that bow on the thick side than on the thin side. Okay, now you take your new valve cover, the oil cap goes to the back. You're just going to sit it on nice and easy, okay? And then check and make sure your gasket is good all the way around, not pinched or anything like that. Then you can do one of a couple of things. You can either put on your old nut and washer, okay, or you can put on these. These are some nuts that you can order to put on, or you can do what I'm going to do here is I've got these finger tight nuts, and that's what I'm going to do. Now when you put on these nuts, you only want to tighten it down to about 5 foot-pounds of pressure, which isn't very much. If you go over that, you could potentially warp or pinch your gasket in some funny places. So remember, you put this on, you just really tighten it down with your hand. And that's it. Your new valve cover is installed and good to go. Put your hose back on. And tighten up the clamp. Well, that's how you replace your valve cover and valve cover gasket on your British car. Pretty easy stuff. As always, if you run into any snags along the way, you can give us a call at 503-864-2001. And if you have any projects coming up that you'd like to see us get down on film, you can email us at howto@bpnorthwest.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching. Enjoy the ride.